So talking of walking, that brings us to Dorothy's longer walks. Joe mentioned them earlier. The longer excursions around Scotland, her continental tour of 1820, and the descriptions within them of landscape. And this particularly interested our next speaker, Lee Hassall, who is himself an artist, but he's doing a PhD with the University of Glasgow. And interestingly, thinking about perceptions of landscape, of what can be seen, what can't be seen, Lee also was in conversation with the vision support of Barrow and District in terms of perceptions of landscape. So it's a great pleasure to have worked with Lee, but also to introduce you tonight, Lee. So over to you.
Thanks very much, Jeff. So our part of the exhibition comes out of a series of Zoom meetings and discussions, and being alongside each other as we engaged with Dorothy Wordsworth's journal of a tour of Scotland. And as Jeff mentioned, the group consisted of members of Vision Support Barrow and District, Susan Allen and myself. And the conversations primarily sort of focused on the nature of perception. In the summer of 1803, Dorothy Wordsworth, along with her brother William and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, made a tour of Scotland. We've been drawn to particular passages of atmospheric writing from Dorothy Wordsworth's journal of the tour, in particular those that mention clouds. Cloud painting and drawing has always been problematic for precisely this reason. The hand cannot keep up with their movement. My drawings made for this exhibition are then a movement towards movement. For me, Dorothy Wordsworth is essentially an ecological writer. I'm attracted to Dorothy's writing because it reveals another side to landscapes, its atmospheres. Reflecting on the Scottish landscape at Ich Tavanach on Thursday, August the 25th, 1803, Dorothy is at her most elemental. The picturesque is so often desperate to hide and repress atmosphere in its quest for total visibility. In contrast, Dorothy demonstrates that it's what we do not see, as well as what we do see, that makes for a sublime encounter with landscape. Thursday, the 25th of August, 1803, open quotes. The sun shone and the distant hills were visible, some through sunny mists, others in gloom with patches of sunshine. The lake was lost under the low and distant hills, and the islands lost in the lake, which was all in motion with travelling fields of light, or dark shadows under rainy clouds. There are many hills, but no commanding eminence at a distance to confine the prospect, so that the land seemed endless as water. Saturday, August the 27th, 1803. We had been through many solitary places since we came into Scotland, but this place differed as much from any we had seen before, as if there had been nothing in common between them. No thought of dreariness or desolation found entrance here. Yet nothing was to be seen but water, wood, rocks and heather, and bare mountains above. We saw the mountains by glimpses as the clouds passed by them, and were not disposed to regret with our boatman that it was not a fine day, for the near objects were not concealed from us, but softened by being seen through the mists. Close quote. Dorothy McEwen, one of our group, told us how she uses her husband's binoculars to view sunsets and clouds. When looking at the night skies, the clouds, the colours, as well as their shapes, even when clouds appear static, she can still see very beautiful things. This, she says, makes her feel elated, so much so that she would like to keep them, though transient. Dorothy sent me the following after one of our sessions, open quotes. Hello, Lee. I had another thought about clouds as I looked out of my windows. I find looking at their shadows interesting, the way they rush across the hillsides or just make a patchwork on the ground, especially when the grass is very green or the hills are that purple hue. I look out across Morecambe Bay and there are lovely sea sandbanks and channels which take up patterns when scattered clouds cast shadows. I can sometimes see the lights of Lancaster and Morecambe at night, and they can at times illuminate the base of the clouds. I wonder if the charcoal burning and early furnaces in the lakes illuminated the clouds. Close quotes. Clouds project their shadowy forms onto landscape. They also absorb the shapes, contours, and light from the land. Their tones are ones that absorb and drain out, constantly shifting and reforming. Clouds thrive on being observed. Like time, they are impossible to grasp. Too early and yet too late for representation. Clouds can be dramatic and, as we know, romantic and lonely. But as Valerie Breyer, another member of our group, asks, open quotes, how can a cloud be lonely when you never see only one? They come in minimum of 2 or 4, maybe even a score. Close quotes. Clouds are also so often imperceptible, fleeting, and contain within them the composition of their own deconstruction. Clouds, then, are the tone, mood, and atmosphere of deconstruction. Observing clouds, I'm reminded of what lurks at the heart of all seeing, the ever-changing blind spot or aporia of the gaze, the thing that constantly drops in and then out of sight. You can tell just by looking at them what picturesque images are thinking, even when they try and tell you a different story. For what the picturesque does is to veil things, to give perspective, to represent the world. Unlike clouds, the picturesque does not reflect landscapes. It creates them, produces them as art. The insidiousness of the picturesque, of course, is that it then goes on to hide its machinery, to disavow its construction, to play as if nothing had happened. The picturesque exercises its own ghosts, does its best not to be haunted, whereas clouds haunt themselves and us. To end on, I would like to return to Dorothy Wordsworth's encounter and subsequent reflection of Thursday, the 25th of August, 1803. The passage attempts to describe a flash of images at Loch Lomond. These images are seemingly incomparable. They have no progenitor in the mind and imagination of Dorothy. They refer to no previously observed scene and are therefore not static. The hills and the lake are, in her words, all in motion with travelling fields of light. The imagery reflects no Cumbrian or English paradigm. Indeed, Dorothy describes the flash of images as having no earthly analogue, saying that they came from another world. The incomparable image is only so because it's first compared with other images and therefore still relies on comparisons. The relationship with the otherworldly, sublime image and the earthly analogue is vital as it creates a tension of intense reciprocity as they synchronously reveal the same actuality in two divergent spheres. The sublime image and the earthly analogue are in constant tension, one in which they are acquired, sustained, and consummated by and with each other. In this interchange, their independent yet interdependent nature is made visible. They come into being together. John Tupper, also a member of our group, said that he recalled, open quotes, lying on my back before I lost my sight, looking up at the skies, the clouds, and experiencing their vastness and how they draw you in. Not so much the colour, but how it's the movement that draws you into the experience, the mind wandering and your thoughts travelling with them. Close quotes. Clouds are then this without beginning and without end, things that are all in motion with travelling fields of light, the intermediary between the earth and an elsewhere, an endless expanse. Ecology then as immensity, endlessness. Thanks, Jeff. Back to you.
Wow, thank you, Lee. There's a lot to think about there. There's a lot to think about. Just lying on our back and looking up, taking that moment. How did the idea of clouds come about? Did that just come out of conversation, Lee, or was that something you introduced?
It was something that gradually kind of appeared, really, as we were sort of selecting pieces of Dorothy Wordsworth's Journal of Scotland to write about, and also with the focus being on a group who were in some ways visually impaired, conversations about the oculocentric nature of the visual cultures, but also how we sort of often think in images, really. So as well as the text, we were thinking about how we thought in images and what atmospheres of landscape might mean to us. And then we were, I selected sort of passages that for me seemed to speak more deeply to atmospheric kind of writing, which I think Dorothy does so unbelievably well. So it's a sense that she's sort of porous with and to the landscape, and this allows her to write and engage in this way, really. So it came out of that, and then I selected certain passages that had clouds in them, and then in order for me to think about what it might mean to think with a cloud, I sort of started to draw them.
Well, those drawings are wonderful drawings, and you explained to me, I think, that that it was through the conversations with the group and yourself that you interpreted those conversations into the drawings. So we're seeing there the group's responses as well as your own.
Completely sort of embedded in them, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a direct sort of outcome, if you like, from those conversations. I mean, very much for me, the work has already happened in the sense of the conversations with the group. So that was the work in a sense. So, but it's nice that they've become sort of distilled, that those moments and the conversations have become distilled into those drawings.
Well, they're very wonderful drawings, and they look beautiful. They, as we know, they fill one end of the room, and it's a magnificent end, as it were, to the exhibition. Thank you, Lee. And lovely to hear Dorothy's words, but also the words of the group as well. That they will stay with us as well. So thank you.